All right. This one's a controversial one that I saw recently. And oh man, it probably made a lot of people. So it probably made everybody that saw it sick to their stomach. Sick to their stomach. Parents should have been sick to their stomach. If you have morals, you should be sick to your stomach. If you're an adult, you should be sick to your stomach. If you have any maturity about you, you should be sick to your stomach. It's a clip, and it's supposed to be based in comedy. Because Aries Spears and Tiffany Haddish, they're more comedians than anything, right? And Aries Spears, of course, he does stand up comedy. I watched Aries Spears speak on the backlash that he got about speaking on Lizzo, in a recent Vlad TV interview. And you want to know what's crazy? I actually side with him, not knowing everything else, totally attached to it. If I just watch that interview and I hear him explain why he got backlash and how he feels about it, I rock with his explanation, because for the most part, what he's talking about is freedom of speech. Which always isn't a good thing. You got some people with freedom of speech that could say some horrible, stupid ass, disgusting ass things, but bigger than that to me is the fact that he's protecting the integrity of what it is to be a comedian. I'm an 80s baby. I come from an era where the F word means fuck. The F word does not mean fuck anymore. Like when you see interviewers or podcasters or artists or movie stars or whatever on camera and they say, he called him the F word, he doesn't mean fuck. There's certain words that you can't even say in today's society anymore. Things have continued to evolve and change, and it's definitely affected all forms of entertainment, including comedians. You know what I'm saying? It feels like the only person that could really talk about certain things on camera as a comedian and get away with it is Dave Chappelle. Like he's like the only one that can go in certain pockets and talk about certain type of topics. Look at Eddie Murphy's classics, Delirious and Raw. There's topics in there that it's not happening today. There's no way these comedians can talk that type of stuff today. Now, don't get it twisted. Society evolves, as it should. We evolve culturally as well. TV, entertainment, radio, they all evolve. Certain things are directly tied to a dollar and ad revenue and certain type of sponsorships, etc. So, of course, people don't want their product associated with racial slurs, for example, or downplaying an entire demographic of people because of maybe their sexual preference. You know what I'm saying? If I was a sponsor and I was going to some TV network and I was saying, hey, here's $1 million, advertise my product over the next X amount of time, X amount of months or whatever, give me my commercial slots or whatever. I don't necessarily want it popping up with some piece of content that's downplaying somebody based on their sexual preference or using racial slurs and stuff like that and calling people. I'm not even gonna go there. I'm not even gonna say. So definitely understand the different layers of why things continue to change with money aspects and the continued growth of content and the amount of money that's out there and just overall sensitivity. And especially in America, just overall sensitivity. Mental health wasn't a term 20 years ago. It wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think George Carlin, and I'm going way off. This is all tying into the Aries Spears thing, so stay with me. But I remember a piece from George Carlin, and he was like, kind of getting into the differences of how certain type of, language has evolved over the years and gotten so sensitive to the point where we can overlook the severity of what these things mean or what's actually happening. For example, he's talking about people coming home from war and they called it like shell shock. You know what shell shock is, right? Like the shells, like the bombs, the actual shells and the explosions going off. And you see like depictions of stuff like that, like in the movie Dead Presidents. Dude goes to war, he comes home, and then he has these nightmares in his dreams. He's waking up in cold sweat, screaming or whatever, because he's just what he experienced over there during war is just like so traumatic. So what George Carlin was breaking down, he was like, these soldiers is coming home, and they have these conditions now where their minds ain't right, and they're having these headaches or their night sweats or these nightmares, and we call it shell shock. That's what it was called. Fast forward, shell shock is too stabbing of a term. You know what I'm saying? It's too direct of a term. It's too painful of a term. So they evolved the terminology of shell shock into post-traumatic war syndrome or something like that. You know, it makes it sound like something that you can clear up with like a fucking a shot of penicillin or something, right? But the point remains true that sometimes we dumb things down so much that we miss the actual root cause of the severity of the situation. I feel like that's all relevant to like the Aries Spears interview on DJ Vlad about his backlash that he got for his Lizzo comments. I feel like that's relevant, right? Because if you're protecting the integrity of a comedian, you know, and he's breaking it down, he's like, everything I see can be turned into a joke. That's my life. You know, I bleed this oath of being a comedian. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's really important to us. Like, but society is changing things where we can't have a sense of humor, even though this is what I do for a living. And this is the oath that I took in this space. And then not only that, I accept it coming back. If somebody wants to talk about me or my weight or my appearance or the way that I look or the way that I talk, I welcome it. So I kind of respect his breakdown on Vlad there. But now, you know, in a short amount of time later now, this clip that's going around with him and Tiffany Haddish now. So let me get back to a small description of what it is. It's like a comedy skit of same way you can't say the F word is a P word. And I'm not talking about a female's anatomy. Let me help you spell the first letters, PED. All right. Or for short, PEDO. They might call you that. All right. So hopefully a lot of y'all picking up on the kind of title and the direction of this skit. Right. So you got this old man and is making a joke out of, to a degree, kind of preying on a little kid, a little boy that's like not dressed. You know what I'm saying? And we know there's sick people like that in this world. You know, there's sick people that abduct children or put their hands on children or go after children or attracted to children. And what this skit does is it kind of takes that and creates a joke out of it, but it puts Aries Spears in this predator mode. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, like where he's holding up a newspaper over his face and he's got two holes cut out in the newspaper for his eyes to see through, as if he's sneaking a peek at this little kid. Now, I hope I painted enough picture in your mind where I don't have to go any further, because you should already start to be getting disgusted. But I thought it was ironic that he's already coming off a backlash of, you know, crossing certain current times. But this right here, but this particular skit, I don't think it has anything to do with how people would be freaked out by it or disgusted by it based on the times. I don't care if you did this in the 90s or the 80s. This is all out disgusting. It's all out disgusting. I'm not some guy that's going to sit up here and call to action over him making this type of mistake. And I'll go that far and call it a mistake, maybe because maybe his comedic side got the best of him, or whoever was involved in the skit, whoever wrote it, whoever produced it, whoever shot it, and whoever acted on it. Maybe you guys were all, you know, too much in a comedic bag, you know, thinking like, oh, anything could be a joke. Not everything could be a joke. Whether you took that I'm a comedian oath, so this is what life should be like, or not. Whether you think today's times or today's world or today's society is sensitive to a lot more than it should be or not, there has to be a line drawn. There has to be lines that says this right here is not something I'm supposed to be doing as a man or as a woman, let alone putting it out to the public for other people to consume it. Because you also got stupid people out there that can't even decipher whether what you're putting out there is good or bad. So of the millions of people that are disgusted, there still could be 100 people that might see that and be laughing or might actually, you know, repeat that, like as if it's a good thing, or even worse, be turned on by it, thinking like, oh, this is an okay thing to do. I'm going to try it too. There has to be limits. What's the limit? Even in street code. Now, I'm not a street nigga, but I'm very aware of street code and street politics. I grew up how I grew up. I grew up around the people I grew up. And even today, as an old grown citizen man that doesn't have a street bone in him, I'm still very, very aware of what it is. You know what I'm saying? Even those codes is no children. No children. I don't pray and pray on people's downfalls too often. So I hope somehow he can reconcile and clean that up, apologize, and hopefully just move on. You know, I'm an 80s baby. Once again, I'm not the cancer culture guy. You know what I'm saying? I do believe that people deserve chances. I do believe that people deserve the opportunities to right their wrongs. There's certain shit that there's no coming back from. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that was real life and not a skit, and you actually did that in real life, there's no coming back for that. I wouldn't be up here saying like, you know, I'm not personally the one that's trying to say, yo, take everything from him. If you did that, I would. I'd be like, yo, fuck him. Me personally, I'll never want to see him again. Nothing that I don't ever want to support, nothing. But I hope that he can get past this and clean this up. I do agree with Dave Chappelle in one respect. I think he said this in was it in Closer or was it the one before? But he gave that little joke where he was just like, if you got, you know, all this time of putting in work, and then I find one little iota of you doing something wrong, I'm gonna end up coming back and taking everything from you. And who do I sound like? I sound like I sound like the crowd. That whole analogy is basically saying that you could do all this right, but then the world and the cancer culture and people will try to take everything from you for that one wrong. And sometimes that one wrong is deserving. Don't get it twisted. But there's a lot of times where I think maybe we try to burn people a little bit too fast, try to take every last thing from them, when it's just like, give the person an opportunity, maybe for an apology or a second chance, or sometimes even a third chance. Like, look what they did to Kevin Hart just for some old tweets. You know what I'm saying? And me personally, I was proud of Kevin Hart for taking a stand. Like, look, I know it was wrong, whatever, but you guys are really, I know what you guys are doing, how you guys are trying to put me in a certain corner, and I'm not going for it. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm not one of them guys, but disgusting is disgusting. You got to call a spade a spade. And it leads me to another point too.